I was sort of reminded of how often in our roles as e-learning designers, instructional designers, whatever you call your role or however you would define yourself, as people who are often required to pull a rabbit out of the hat. We are faced with numerous challenges. You can prepare for the next day, but you never know exactly what you're going to face. And I thought that instead of sharing a list rabbits in my hat, that I would rather use today to talk about the rabbit as representative of us and who we are in our various roles. And if I think of us, I think of colleagues across South Africa, across the world, who are keen to support academics or content creators in supporting them in a way that will lead to empowering learning opportunities for students. And so the rabbit, no rabbits in the hat today. We're not going to be talking about tools, and I'm not going to be sharing a list of tools with you. But with your permission, I hope that I can rather tell you a story today. My background in education comes from when I was teaching still in primary school education. And I know the power that a story has got. And there's such a focus these days on the telling of a story and how we can hopefully inspire people with a story. So the session will start with a story. And then we're going to use the story to reflect on how we as learning designers, technologists, instructional designers, what we can learn from the story. So I hope that's fine with you. There's no reason to take notes. And maybe as you think about yourself, it would be good to sort of think in terms of yourself as the rabbit, right? Um, being um, being an instructional designer, being in the field of e-learning and supporting somebody else. And then the lion, you could title the lion as the academic that you work with, as the module that you are designing, whichever challenges you face. But in this story that I'm going to share, it's definitely a fictitious story, but it's a story that I often told my own children and other little children. The story is really about courage, preparation, and outsmarting the challenges that we face. And I think towards the end of the year, if we can be inspired for 2025 to take courage. I would consider that as mission accomplished. All right, so this is a rabbit. This rabbit is a head of a large family. And if you think about your family or who you want to protect, if we think of course design, it could be the students that would complete the course. It could be the institution that you represent. But this rabbit was really getting to a point where he had to take a stand, because every night, as his hundreds of little rabbit children would need to find rest, the lion would start roaring in the distance, and that would terrify his family. And he wanted to protect his family and wanted to solve the problem. On the other side, the lion, or the challenges that we face every day, or whoever you want to position as the lion in your story, is portrayed as the king of the jungle. And every night he roars to assert his dominance. to make sure that the entire animal kingdom is reminded to be fearful and to acknowledge this lion as the ruler. So on the one side, we've got the rabbit who's determined to protect his family. And on the other side, the rabbit who is determined to protect his family. On the other side, we've got the lion who rules with fear. So those are the two main characters in our story. Right, so let's start with the story. The story begins where Rabbit decided one day enough is enough. He has grown tired of hearing his children tremble with fear, and he's decided today he needs to establish who's got rule over his family. And he decided he's going to face the lions, and he's going to walk into the lion village, lo and behold, and he is going to face the challenge. And he knew exactly what was being expected. He heard the roar of the lions every night. But Rabbit was clever, and he was well prepared for his journey. So he had a little backpack. He had some carrots, some snacks, and some water. And he had tools. He knew how to encourage himself. So as he went on his journey, backpack on his back, he would start off, and sort of to encourage himself, he would whistle a bit. And off he went. Not long after he started his journey, he heard the lions roar again, and he decided, let me rest, let me eat one of the carrots, and let me take some courage. And he sat down, and in the corner, the rabbit could see something glittering in the background, and he walked close, and he saw it was a tortoise shell. And he decided to pick up this tortoise shell. He looked at it, and he thought, this might come in handy. And he packed it in his backpack. And off he went again. This time the roaring of the lions were a little bit closer, and he was still whistling, trying to encourage himself. And he walked and walked till it was about midday, and his legs grew tired. He was a little bit more petrified. He sat down, and again he saw something, and it was a porcupine quill. And he thought, my goodness, this might come in handy. And he picked it up, and he put it in his backpack. And it was time to get up and to go and face the lions. And as he got closer to the lion's den, his walk became slower, and his whistle became a little bit softer. But he felt encouraged. He knew exactly why he had to go and face these lions. And he had 2 more carrots left. And through the afternoon, he ate his 3rd carrot. And as he sat down, he saw something else. And this time it was a pick. And he thought, wow, this might come in handy. And he put it in his backpack, and off he went again. And for the 4th time, he sat down to eat his last carrot. And there against the tree trunk, he saw something shiny, and he decided, I need to step closer. And oh my goodness, it was a rifle. And he looked at the rifle, and he said, well, this might come in handy. And he put it in his backpack. And he knew that the kingdom of the lions were very close, who could hear them roaring, and obviously his whistle becomes softer and a little bit more petrified. But that gave him courage, and he walked closer and closer, and it was time to face the lions. He was determined. He knew in that moment why he had to be there, and he entered in, and there was just no lions in the village. But he identified the house of the chief lion. He went inside the Induna, the pride of the animal kingdom, and he locked himself in the house, knowing that now he needs to be patient. He needs to wait for these lions to come home. The lions were away on a hunt, and this was now his chance to wait for them. And as they started coming closer, Rabbit could hear their roars coming closer and closer. And when the chief lion reached his house and he tried to open the door, he found that it was locked. And his face turned dark and he was filled with anger and he felt humiliated. And how dare someone lock him out of his own house? And he roared and he hammered on the door and he demanded that whoever was in the house would open his house. And although the rabbit was shaking, he summoned every ounce of courage that he had left, and he put on the loudest, bravest voice that he could muster, and he shouted back, "I'm the king of the jungle, and I'm a monster, and your house is now my house." And even Rabbit couldn't believe that the words came out of his house, and how courageous it sounded. And outside, the lions and his friends stood in disbelief. And the lion roared back, "That's impossible. I'm the king of the animals, and I'm the biggest, I'm the bravest lion with the loudest ear, and nobody is stronger than me." And Rabbit, still hiding behind the door, gathered his wits and replied, "If you are stronger, then prove it. The lice on your back must be bigger than the lice on my back." And the lion turned to his friends and he ordered them to search his back. And they combed through his fur until they found the largest tick that they could find. And he said, and they put it through the keyhole. And with all the courage that Rabbit had, he said, "Only the lice on my baby's back is as small as yours." And he searched in his backpack and he pulled out the tortoise shell and he hurled it inside. And the lions thought, obviously, this was now the lice that this monster found on his back. And they couldn't believe. They stared at it. And while they saw the gathering themselves, the rabbit spoke again in his voice, and he said, "Now that you've seen the size of the lice on my back, let's see who's got the thickest, strongest, sharpest hair." And the chief lion, now desperate to prove his dominance, he ordered his pride to look, and they found the longest, thickest strand in his mane, and they pushed it through the keyhole. And when the lion saw the impressive mane hair, he felt a wave of fear, but he couldn't let that show. And he laughed loudly and he replied, "Ha, ha, ha, only the hair on my baby's back is as small as that." And quickly he reached into his backpack and he found the porcupine quill. And without hesitation, he tossed that outside. And the lions grasped again, even louder this time. They stared in disbelief and of what they thought was a single hair. And a rabbit, still trembling inside, he kept his act, and he knew that the lions were falling for every trick. And as they were standing, Rabbit knew he had to keep going. He couldn't give up. And he said, "Well, lions, now that I know for a fact that the nails on my paws are sharper than any nail on your paw." And the chief lion, he just said, "Impossible." And my claws can tear through everything. And he showed his claw. And that really shook Rabbit, because he was never as close to a lion's claws as that day. But he couldn't let his fear show, and he laughed loudly, and he again said, "Only the nails on my baby's feet are as small as yours." And he reached inside his back, and this time he had the pick, and he threw that, tossed that amongst the lions, and all of them couldn't believe that this was the nail of the monster. The size and the sharpness sent a shiver right through the pride. And now it was time for Rabbit for his final test. And he knew this was his last chance to outsmart the lions. And turning to the door, he shouted, "You lions have one last chance to prove yourself. Let's see who's got the loudest roar." And the chief lion, obviously feeling very confident at his ability to roar, said, "That's easy." And he stepped back and he planted his powerful paws in the ground, and he drew a massive breath, and he roared, and it echoed right through the animal kingdom. And inside the house, Rabbit was trembling, and the lion's roar was really, really terrifying. But he had to remind himself of the lion's plan. And he said, "Only my babies roar as softly as you do. Now, to hear my roar, I need you all to line up, stand ear to ear, and you now gonna hear me roar." And all the lions in the kingdom stood ear to ear. They wanna now hear, oops, sorry. They wanted to hear how this monster roar, thinking that nobody could outwit and outplay the lions. But in his backpack, he pulled out the shotgun, the rifle, and he fired a shot, and all the lions scattered right throughout the kingdom. His roar was very vigorously, it was hammered, it went right throughout the kingdom, and convincing the lions that there was indeed a monster in the house. And yeah, so Little Rabbit couldn't believe what he has done. He had outsmarted the lions. He protected his family. And from that day on, the lions no longer roared near the rabbit's house, and the rabbit returned to his own home, really hailed the bravest and the cleverest of all the rabbits in all of Rabbit Kingdom. And this is maybe let's say a silly story, but I hope as you listen to the story, you could identify maybe yourself as the rabbit who had to go and face these everyday challenges. And that as you go along, and as we all working in this environment go along, and we are collecting tools along the way, whether it's the latest and greatest AI tool that we believe can make our lives easier, inspire an academic that we work with, a tool that we believe can really encourage the students to actively participate. Um, each one of us are on this journey. And as we are on this journey, every day we are confronted with the challenges that we face. And if we can think about who the lions are in our world, whether it is the people that you work with at a university, at an organization, and maybe their resistance to change, or whether it is lack of time, or working with people who has different priorities than what you have, or just a different standard of excellence that they believe to adhere to. We all face those lions, those challenges around us. So for a moment, I want you to think of 2024 and sort of think about the challenges that you faced, because I believe in our work we need to know and confront the challenges up front. We need to know what they are, who they are, what they look like. We need to listen to their roar. I don't know about you, but often it is time and it is priorities. It's a lack of standard, a lack of emergency, a lack of resources, a lack of finance, right, that we need to face. But as this little rabbit came prepared, the rabbit was willing to face the lion or the challenges because he knew what motivated him. So as you think about 2024 and the lines that you faced, what was the motivation that kept you going as a instructional designer, um, uh, learning designer? What kept you going? And I think it is the why we do things and that intrinsic motivation that is maybe one of the most important things that we need to be reminded of, whether it's the team that we function in and that we want to protect. Maybe you are a leader of a team of instructional designers, and it is looking out for them that motivates you. Or maybe it's the students that you know their challenges and how much motivation it would take for a student to really complete a course from beginning to end. Regardless of what's the why. I think as we move into 2026, 2025, we know we're close to 2026, luckily not, but as we move from 2024 to 2025, I think it's important for all of us to just be reminded of why we get up and why we do what we do. Who's our audience? Who are we willing to protect and defend? And then it is about this little rabbit's backpack and the fact that he went on this journey well prepared. And preparedness can take many different formats. Preparedness for instructional designers or learning designers is not about all the digital tools that we have in our backpack. I think there's far more tools that we can take. One of the key tools is maybe preparation and how you prepare, how proactive you are, how you identify strategies, how you approach how mindful you are with the available resources that you have. I think that's important, is being prepared. If it is a topic that you know you're going to be engaged with, is to take the time and to find out more about the topic. If it's a group of people that you've never worked with, it is about taking the time to prepare, to get to know the team that you are going to support. And I think often as we pulling out the rabbits out of the hat and we sort of move from the one to the next to the next, I don't think we always sit down to sharpen our axe or to sharpen the pick that we take with us. And being prepared, sometimes slowing down to eventually speed up, for me, is one of the key ingredients that I would like to share with you. And these are not rocket science. It's a simple children's story, but I think being reminded to take time to prepare. Maybe the other tool that we need is patience and resilience, and the fact that the rabbit didn't immediately confront these lines. You know, he didn't wait for them with an open door. He waited for the right moment. And I think as we face our challenges, and whether it's an academic that is not available that we work with, is the importance of being patient and the importance of waiting for the right opportunity. And often, if we've got a lot of tools with us and sort of a lot of ideas as courses are designed, we sort of feel that we have to share as much as quickly and as early on in the learning experience within this engagement that we have. But whether it's the academic that we work in, the subject matter expert, the module author, whatever title we want to give them, or whether it's the students for whom we are designing learning, it's the importance of being patient and waiting to use the right tool at the right time, and not to bombard, to carefully select the right tool for the right job. And I think that there can be brilliant, not I think we will all agree that there can be brilliant courses without any wow e-learning tool, without the focus on AI. If we understand how learning takes place, if we understand that it takes time for a student to master something, I think that will stand us in good stead. I think the other thing that we need to do in preparation is asking the right challenge. The rabbits, he asks clever questions to outline the line. Are you your lice bigger? Is your toenail sharp? You know, what's the hair? Can you roar louder than what I can? And I think we need to ask insightful questions. And the importance for somebody in our role to create the opportunity to ask and to listen instead of talking all the time is one of the key ingredients. This is not a tool that is expensive. This is a tool that we can all take into 2025 with us, is being willing to ask questions and to listen more to what is required, because that's going to help you to gain the necessary insight, to guide, to support, and to build trust. I think if we for a moment stand still and we think about the pick, and it is all about simple tools. You know, it's not about a pick has come for centuries, and a pick is used to break up complex things that often look too hard. And the rabbit used simple tools to solve big problems. And we must help academics focus on what truly matters in course design. So it is focusing on the simple things, getting the simple things right when we look at the development of modules or courses. It starts with an expert in the subject field. It starts with those outcomes and what do we really want to achieve, and making sure that we understand the why, and then we will know how we need to achieve that. So keep it simple, focus on the module outcomes, focus on the activities, the engagements that's required of the student to be able to gain the understanding, to experience, and to then present their learning to the audience. And that also aligns, that constructive alignment with the assessment that's used. So keep it simple. Remember about the pick. Keep it simple. We don't have to have elaborate designs in place to convey good learning, good teaching, good content to a student. I think it's also important for us to think about our timing. And the rabbit's final roar was his most powerful tool. In our work, timing matters. Whether it's introducing a new tool, whether it is suggesting a change in somebody's pedagogical approach, a change in their assessment, is wait for the right impact, right? Often with all our ideas, with all the resources that we have, we want to go in again. We don't always have the patience, but wait to make the right impact. Right. So long story and a lot of talk, but I want us sort of to collectively think for a moment, and I hope that you will take the opportunity to stand still and to reflect for a moment on what's in your backpack. What do you go with into 2025? What's the challenges that we face? What are the tools that you currently have? And what other tools do you think you need to acquire? And Rumanda, if I can ask you maybe, and I really want you to encourage us the end of the year. I wonder collectively how many hours of webinars, sessions have we all attended this year that allowed us the opportunity to engage with new tools, things that we've packed in our backpack. But let's just for a moment think about, and I'm going to open it on the screen, what's going to be in your backpack for 2025. And if you can click on or take a photo of this QR code, maybe with your cell phone, or there's the link. And reminder, I'm not sure, I can't see if you've pasted it in the chat. But if I can ask for a moment for you to just sort of reflect about the story, and you can share your thoughts and your ideas in this Padlet, or maybe there's somebody in the audience. We're a nice small team that wants to share about the challenges that they faced. What motivated you to face these challenges? What were the tools in your backpack? How did you face and overcome, sort of outsmart the lions? That would be great. So I'm going to just for a moment stop sharing. I can see patience and a bit more listening is important. Maybe let's just quickly see. I just want to see if I can quickly move to my screen because I can't see anybody. But if there's anybody who's willing to share some of the challenges that they faced, or some of the tools that's been in your backpack, sort of a go-to tool, that would be great. For me, it's important that we don't think about pulling all of the rabbits out of the hat, but thinking of ourselves as the smart little rabbit that knew where his motivation comes from, that was willing to be prepared, willing to patiently walk into the lion's den and to go and outsmart the lion. So let's for a moment, we've got some time left, give anybody in the audience the opportunity to share. Otherwise, I know a few of these names. I see. Thanks, Marie. One of my challenges that I faced in preparing for today was I knew the story that I wanted to tell, but boy, did I struggled with ChatGPT to give me the same lion wearing the same clothes the whole time. That was my lion. That was what I faced today. Right. Let's Ramanda, if I can pick on you maybe, because I know you had many lions that you faced. Is there any lion that you wanted to share with us? Any challenge?
I, you can hear me, am I right?
Yes, yes.
Yes. I think it is. You mentioned about you having to work and there's other people's timelines involved and
Mm,
aligning your pace with theirs. I think that was a big struggle for me this year. We all of us have the same end date of the project when it will end, and we all play a role together to achieve that due date, which is a very important date. We cannot miss it. And then to find a pace to go through it so that everyone is allowed their fair share of the time to do what they do to the best of their ability to reach that final release date of the course or the program or whatever. So that was my biggest lion. And something that really touched home what you said now is to keep it simple. I think sometimes we try to be too fancy because we feel pressured with all the AI going around that's outsmarting us.
mm, mm,
And I think we can draw it back to if you design training and you use a vocabulary that is excessive and too high level, you're going to teach no one anything. And I think what I'm going to say to myself going into 2025 is, yes, there's these great tools, but if the student is not, they don't know how to use it, what is the purpose of it, they're not going to learn anything. Keep it
mm,
simple. And something I really have to work on, and I wrote it on bold here in my notes, having patience.
mm,
So
mm.
that was a little bit more than you asked, but those are the things that came to
No.
mind, my struggle and me going forward, moving on.
Thanks, Ramanda. I see Dr. Eugenie's name, and I know that she, if there's one thing that she always remember is the who do we do it for? So who's the family you want to protect? Why are you willing to face the lions? Maybe some thoughts in that regard, Eugenie. I'm putting you on the spot.
Hi, Sarietjie. Hi, everyone. Um, although your interpretation, I suppose, is absolutely spot on, my focus actually throughout your whole talk, I think, related more to inner lions this year. Um,
Mm,
and having that conversation with a lot of team members where 2024 was a challenging year.
mm,
I think internally for many of us,
mm,
not only accepting that this overwhelming, chaotic, I suppose, life we find ourselves in, um, it's a reality, I suppose, that we all need to learn to cope with,
mm,
but not then going beyond the coping. So,
mm,
if you are in academia, the interesting
mm,
conversations I've had, it seems every institution, people feel understaffed, overworked.
mm,
So, in other words, job hopping isn't necessarily going to be the solution for us, but it's going to
mm,
be a case of how do I accept this, and then how do I learn to thrive in
mm,
this environment? How do I balance family life and work life, and um,
mm,
get to a good space again? So yeah, I know that's not what you asked, but I think for me it was a year of internal growth. I think for many
yeah.
of us, um, moving beyond, we've now got a vocabulary as well. We know what
Mm,
anxiety is, what burnout is, and
mm,
moving beyond that again into a good, healthy space.
yeah. Sure, Eugenie, I think you've touched on something that I think if we could all put on our cameras and put up our hands, those inner lions, and the importance of facing them, because ignorance is not gonna make the lion disappear. And I think the opportunity to more often talk about the lines that we face and less about all the technology tools that we can use to potentially look cool or to impress, but as a community to support each other with these lions that we face on a daily basis. I see Ray is here. Good to see you, Ray. Ray is passionate about various tools. And maybe, Ray, there was a tool in your backpack this year that you want to share with us?
I think just ChatGPT, both a lion and a tool, once you get to know it. But a lot of our focus has been on AI. A lot of the SMEs that we speak to, or any of the stakeholders, AI is a huge focus for everyone. So learning how to use ChatGPT, prompting properly, those kinds of things has been a real lifesaver, a real tool.
Thanks, Ray. Nico, what's the tools that you're going to pack in your backpack for 2025? Things that you are focusing on?
First, I must also just say it's not always the lions that's a problem, it's those bloody hyenas. But yes, I think the one tool, I mean, ChatGPT, of course, it's magic if you know how to use it correctly. And the minute you actually realize that it won't do all your work for you, because I see a lot of people assuming that now you can just get things done automatically and you just ask it for a report and it'll generate a report and you don't even need to check it. We need to realize that ChatGPT should be like using a textbook. It is something that helps you, or a dictionary. It's something that helps you. You can't just assume that everything is going to be perfect. But my favorite tool that I've just been playing around with for a while now, I say for a while now, but for a few months, is Synthesia, the video generation, and other tools as well that does the same thing. But that, to me, the advances being made every week or two, that to me is impressive, and it allows unbelievable scalability. I don't think in South Africa yet because of the accents and things, but in a global market, to be able to auto-generate videos with the same type of content that is translated into different languages and change a word here and there after 3 weeks, where you don't need to get the same person in, and the conversations that you can have now and the dialogues between two people, those things I think is magic. So yeah, that is something that I want to explore more and use more. But the answer, another thing I just want to mention, this year has been a challenging year. And of course, when people ask me, how did you get into instructional design academia? And my first thoughts are, well, one or two wrong life choices. But except for that, I think we're on the verge of major changes in the academic field. The skills market is going to be more on practical things and being able to use things rather than thinking. And we need to equip ourselves so that we can use these tools and still create things that's not just auto-generated. But that's just a thought on the side. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Nico. And as you were talking about these tools and how the world has changed, I think it is the importance of sort of keeping your feet on the ground of why we in this business, and who is our audience, and why do we do what we do, sort of that coming back to the rabbit's motivation. It is not about just pushing out the one course after the next. It is about really being very mindful and purposeful in how we embrace the changes, and finding that motivation in we know why we do it. We know why the students need it. Why is the focus now on skills based? It's not just the change of a flavor. It's not just a phase that we're moving through. It's really to make sure that our students are well prepared and well equipped to face this new world that they need to operate on. Marie, thoughts on from your side on the story of the rabbit and sort of what you're taking from it?
Thank you, Sarietjie. Yeah, the story from the rabbit for me was amazing because that whole idea of having the right tools in your backpack, but not just having them, that use them when it is the right time. So for me, that was the crux of the story, and it was actually the beautiful part of it. Because we develop a skill set over years, and then just to every time use that same skill set in that same order with different people might not be the right thing to do. Is to change your how you apply your own skill set. So that for me was standing out. And then for me, something that I keep in my back pocket is to get excited with the lecture that I'm working with, because it's not my subject field. I need to actually do things for you that I don't really care of, if you can say it like that, in a sense, to get excited with them, to work yourself in with them. And then some of the other things comes sort of automatically, because now you are looking for tools, you are looking for new ideas, you are looking for new platforms to use. And then that also inspires me then to continue working from my side. But what's scary for me is that, and that is what I was actually trying to say with the lions that wear different clothes. It has nothing to do with your lions. It was my lions looks differently every time. It's that I've just slain this lion, and the next one is standing in front of me in a different format. Yeah, and that was something that I need to work on next year, that not to expect the same thing every time, but be prepared for that variations in happening. And we are currently in quite a volatile environment. So yeah, so that's something I need to learn. Yes.
Very like you spoke about the lions and Nico spoke about the hyenas. If it's not the lion, it's the hyena, and if it's not the hyena, it might be the crocodile. But I think it was Nico that said he fell by accident based on a few wrong life choices. I think the more you get to know people in this environment, people that attend to our typical instructional designers, it is the brave. It is the one. We survive because we're willing to face the lions. We survive in this career of choice because we're willing to continuously collect to as we journey is to all of the vultures. You're right. We're willing to look for opportunities. We don't arrive in a space and once we prepared, we feel we forever prepared. I think it's that willingness for understanding that it's a forever changing environment. And then the other thing is that to not keep collecting tools that weigh us down. If Rabbit had a venter waantjie full of tools, he would never have made it to face the lions. Is often we feel we need more, we need new tools, and that pressure is onto a next webinar and a next workshop and something else, and sometimes less is more. Sometimes we need to get rid of the tools that weigh us down and be purposeful in what we take with us. So I hope that ending this year with just a story. Maybe the tool is in your next lesson, next module that you create, to think about the power of stories. Maybe that was the tool for today. To be encouraged to start with the why we do what we do, to not be fearful of the lions, to remember the tools that makes a difference, whether it's patience, whether it's resilience, whether it's waiting for the right impact, asking the right questions, or whether it is how you prepare, how you get excited to engage with the academic that you work in. I really hope that as you all find rest towards the end of the year, that you will be encouraged that next year, when you feel it's time again to pull all the rabbits out of the hat, that you will just pause for a moment and think of the story of today, that maybe it's not about all the rabbits in your hat, but being that rabbit that outwit, outlast, and outplayed the challenges that you face. Thanks, Marie, back to you.
Thank you so much, Sarietjie, for the inspiring, and I just, for me, it was also calming a bit of our nerves. As Eugenia said, it was quite a challenging year, and I don't think it was only with us. I think as I speak to other people, it's like it's all over. This year was a hard year, and then just ease down into the festive season, and so that we are recharged, ready to be brave next year, ready to tame our lions and to at least face them. And for that, I say thank you for your story that you told us. And for all the other people in the room, thank you so much for attending this last one. We are sometimes a bit slow with putting everything on LinkedIn, but we have already created the first 3 presentations, so we will put the 4th one on. So if you are all anxious, you can go back and you can again listen to Sarietjie's story. Thank you for attending, and then goodbye from us, and see you in 2025.
Marie, Sarietjie, wow, vreeslik dankie. Sarietjie, dit was net wat ek moes gehoor het.
Ek weet mos nou nooit, want toe aan die einde toe dink ek, jy's maar hier is nou nooit geen digital tools of winning ideas nie, maar ek het net gevoel, ons het dit nie nodig nie, ons kan na Johannes Cronje se praatjie luister, as ons nog tools nodig het.
Ja, nee, ek dink,
Marie se mic is op mute.
Ja,
is ek op mute?
Nee, ek was.
Die laaste 2 weke of so, het vir my gevoel, ek kan nie meer nie, ek gaan nie meer nie, en nou voel ek wil weer.
Ja, ek sê dit, dis wat ek ook vir mense gesê het, kom luister die storie. Ons gaan nie nou vir julle leer nie, kom luister net die storie en sit